Welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Matthews, and I want to thank everyone once again for taking the time to listen each week, listen to the guests, the emails I get, the Instagram posts, Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts. Really appreciate all that. And because this is how we grow. We learn together, we grow together. And the great motto of mine. I love it. And I love that you're here today listening to us or even watching us on video. Today, I have a special guest, a good friend that I was actually on his podcast last year. And now he's changed roles. He's blown up the training industry, which I'm super excited about. Jesse Stewart, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, I'm doing fine, and thanks for taking the time to have me on here. It's always a pleasure to talk with you again, Trevor.
Yeah. So when we first talked, you were training a manager, maybe, or a training director of your previous company. And since then, now you're the training director for Bluon, and Bluon has been growing over the last 4 or 5 years. I heard about them a few years ago when I was working at Copeland, and then continue to see them grow and change. They evolve, right? Because I knew them as a refrigerant manufacturer who sold refrigerants, but now you guys are so much more, and I can't wait to hear about the story about that. But let's talk about that transition. I think this would be a good start, because this is a new world for you, and I know I can see the big smile on your face. You're super happy with what's going on in your day to day.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, like you said, a little bit of background. My previous company, I was there for about 6 years. I was their training director, and what that meant was that I oversaw everything from the apprentices to our tier 1 and tier 2 technicians. So I provided training to them, as well as I worked with all the educational entities in my local area. So we actually developed college programs that we would send our apprentices to, that were accredited college programs, and myself and a few others would be the ones who would teach at these colleges. As well as we served on board of advisors for trade schools and other educational entities all across the tri-state. Now, my contractor was based out of Charleston, West Virginia, but I served on these advisors everywhere from West Virginia to Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Maryland. And so I did that for a few years, and I was approached by Bluon, who said, "We think you'd be a great fit for our training director." And me being a trainer, and my whole thing was wanting to improve the trade, and not just as a single company, but as a whole. Because I recognize, and any trainer who talks to Trevor, you'll agree with me on this, there's a massive skill gap out there. And I wanted to decrease that skill gap as much as I possibly could. I was doing as much as I could at my current company. Bluon was a nationwide company, and so it was kind of a no-brainer. So I talked with Pete and Danica, who were the ones who interviewed me. We absolutely hit it off, and before I knew it, I was flying out to Bunsen, California, and starting as their training director.
Amazing. That's amazing. And and this is what it is. It's just putting that work in. You know what I mean? You loved helping others. You love serving others. You love seeing other people get to the next level, just like me. But you're putting that work in. You were putting that work in for 6 years, and now opportunities are going to continue to come to you. And I'm sure even more are going to come to you, and they probably still do, because you care, right? At the end of the day, this is what people are looking for, especially educators, trainers. They're looking for people who care. And like, I can tell each time we talk, I know you really care about the industry.
Absolutely. It is hands down my passion. If I ever had one before, it's long gone. This is solely what I focus on now.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that about caring, because that's literally the entire company as a whole. Everyone there cares about the trade, and they all have the same thought. We just want to make it better in any way we can.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the company. We'll get into you a little bit more, but let's talk about the company. So when you got hired there as a training director, you're not training on refrigerants anymore, right? Because like I said earlier, Bluon was a refrigerant company, I think. Like, I don't know the whole story of it. And so it came a long way in the last few years. You want to talk about that? I'm sure you know that a little bit of that story of where you were to where you are now. Because at the HVAC Tactical Awards, they were actually presenting there. So they were I think they were one of the large sponsors there. So
yeah. Yeah, so no, and a lot of people do know Bluon just as the TDX20, which was our refrigerant. But we've kind of transitioned from that, because the original goal behind the app was we were providing information on retrofits for R22 systems to these TDX20. And then they kind of looked back and they calculated the sales, and they said, well, the sales versus number of users on here doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we actually started reaching out to users saying, hey, what are you using this for? And they said, oh, you've got parts and manuals and stuff all right here on the app. I said, it's so much easier than Googling. And that was kind of an aha moment for us. Like, oh, wait a minute. We kind of got the keys to a kingdom we didn't realize.
Yeah.
So we started focusing on developing the app, and we focus it around the tech. It's a very tech centric thing, because at the end of the day, the guys that are out in the field, the guys that are touching the equipment, those are the people that are interacting with the customers. Those are the face of the trade. And we want to make their lives as easy as possible. And we want to make them as productive as possible, especially when we talk about that skill gap, which we can get into that here in a second. But so we started working to data mine, and we got all these part numbers and these manuals and stuff. We put them up there, and then we reached out again. We said, hey, what else can we do to make your life better? They said parts. Okay. So we started researching part numbers for all the manuals and everything we have. And we tried to make a seamless way of ordering the parts on the app. So essentially, instead of, calling, waiting, being put on hold to see if they have the part, you could just do it right there from your, excuse me, you could just do it right there from your phone. Now, in addition to that, we're actually doing a big overhaul of the app. It's called Bluon 2.0. And we made that process so much simpler than it already was. We realized that it needed some tweaking. And so we made it, instead of, I believe we went from 12 clicks to 4 clicks to go ahead and get your part requests taken care of.
That is huge. That is huge. Because this was one of the things when I worked at Copeland and that different apps and websites, it was like click, 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 click. Oh, there it is, if you can find it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest challenge for most people is reducing the amount of clicks, because you get into 6 clicks, you already lost a person. So that's amazing.
And that exactly what you just said. That was the kind of the way we looked at it, is if it took more than 6, then realistically they're like, no, I'm just going to call.
Yeah.
I'm on the job. I'm trying to get this done. I know what part I need. I'll just call and I'll wait. So we eliminated the extra time it took to go ahead and go through the process to make sure that you are more productive and you get more jobs done. And that's literally our entire goal, is to make everyone as happy and productive as possible in the trade. That's from the tech to the distributor to the contractor, all of them.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's what we need. We need confidence in the apps that we use and the people that we work with. And it sounds like you guys have a really good thing going here. So you did this transition. You figured out you found the keys to the kingdom, as you said, and now you got an app that's working that you're launching. Have you already launched a 2.0 version yet, or you're launching?
Okay, so yeah, 2.0 is actually set to launch next week.
Wow, look at this. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect time. And so now you transition into an app, more of a training app. Now you get into parts, and now 2.0 is more efficient, more effective. What are you looking for this new app launch? What are you hoping that the users are going to get out of it?
So what we're hoping the users will get out of it, like we said before, is that they're going to maintain a more productive schedule. They'll spend
Mhm.
less time waiting on the phone, waiting in line at supply houses, etc. But in addition to that, when we're talking about supporting the technicians, especially the ones out in the field, when we talk about that skill gap, there are a lot of green technicians out there. And so with the launch of 2.0, and we also, in case anyone's unaware, you've been living under a rock, Bluon has 24/7 brand agnostic tech support on everything from ice machines to chillers. And the only way, or let me rephrase that. The only caveat, I guess you could say, that is that in order to unlock tech support, you have to either be a Bluon for Contractors member, which is where your entire company has agreed to work with Bluon and you're going to order your parts through us, or you have 1,000 points through the app, which you get through ordering parts through the app. So that 24/7 tech support is a huge deal, because I can't name the number of times that I've heard technicians say they had a wait time of 30 minutes or longer. Our
30
estimate,
minutes, that's a short amount of time. I remember sitting on a roof when it's minus 30 out, and I'd be like, nobody answered the phone. We'll call you back in 4 hours. What? 4 hours? I'm freezing here.
Yeah, and
Start the
that's the
pro-
reality of it is when a tech calls into a tech support line, it's kind of like it's crisis mode. I've done everything I know to do. I need help. We don't have time for 2 hour wait times. We don't have time for I'll call you back the next business day. With Bluon's tech support, the estimated wait time is actually 2 minutes and under. So
Wow. That's amazing because even even when I was working for a manufacturer, you could see a transition in the support. You know, you get support between a certain time depending on the zone. It could be like from 8 to 8 or 8 to 5, and then after that, then it's overseas or someone else that's just reading out of a book.
yep.
And I see a lot of that happen around the industry where you'll go and like technicians tell me all the time, like I called in and the they didn't really they were helpful, but I was wishing to have a little bit more. um but also there is good tech support as well, different manufacturers, don't get me wrong, where they call in and they're giving more of how to be a technician support than actual issues that they're calling in, because like you said, there's a lot of green people out there and they don't know who to turn to, so they're turning to Bluon. Awesome.
And that's what's really cool about it too. You hit on it there again. So you talk about the guys who read from a script. Our guys don't read from a script. Our guys have anywhere between 16 to 55 years experience. That's real field experience. They know what they're talking about. And so they're really helpful to these green as grass techs. And they say, hey, let's take a little bit of a moment here, not just to tell you what the problem is, but let's teach you. So each tech, they also give a small little bit of training every single time they help one of these green techs. And you said it too. We're in no way, shape, or form talking bad about anybody's tech support. In fact, if anything, we're just trying to support every manufacturer all across the nation. So with that being said, if you find yourself out in the field and you cannot find help and you can't get a hold of your boss, you may want to look towards us.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And that's the big thing is like there's a lot of people out there who want to help, and even in different organizations, but the person that's, in the field don't have the right phone number, don't have the right contact or connect. And so this is kind of a one-stop shop. So what is it? So you said that you guys will do some chiller stuff, you'll do some commercial HVAC. What is it limited, or I guess ice machines you said, what is it limited to? So are you trying to do a little bit of training, solve the problem at hand, help them with part selection? Like, what could be involved in one of these calls? So if someone does call, if you can give me an example or even role play one right now, for people listening, just to give an example, if they call in, how can Bluon help them compared to calling the manufacturer? And they should still call the manufacturer. I don't care who you are as a technician. The first person should be the manufacturer of the equipment if you get a hold of them, not the parts that are in it. Because this used to happen all the time. People would call up and ask for a Copeland issue, which is actually not. You got to call the manufacturer of the equipment. Copeland doesn't know how the equipment was built. You know what I mean? You got to talk to that manufacturer. So, and this is where probably a skill set from all the different technicians that you have on the line. So, kind of give us an idea of what a call could look like.
So you can have calls varying from extremely difficult, and again, we can go all the way down to ice machines or up to chillers.
Yeah.
Our tech support team is broke down into what we call an under 20 and over 20 team. So over 20 would be the commercial side. Under 20 is your residential and some of your smaller ice machines, juice machines, whatever you want to call them. So you have those two categories, but let's say that you have a green as grass technician that is out in the field and he realistically doesn't know, and this is we've actually encountered this. He's got his meter in his hand. He asks, where do I put the black stick? So the fact that he refers to him as a black stick is already cause for concern, right? So we know we had a newer technician here. The technician on the phone will first ask, okay, well, what are you trying to find? What is the issue? What's the piece of equipment you're working on? They'll actually pull that piece of equipment up. They have access to our database where they can look at the same manuals that the techs can on their phone, and they'll walk them through that service call. And while they're walking them through, if there's any kind of technical errors, or we'll say your actual communication errors, so the black stick or the chatterbox thing or whatever you want to call it. So when I'm referring to chatterbox, we're talking about a contactor that's failing.
Yeah.
So they will actually teach them the proper terminology as well as teach them what they're actually looking at. So if they're chasing down a low voltage short, they need to know how to use that ohm meter. They need to be
Mhm.
aware of where the low voltage is. They need to be aware of where it ends, everything it passes through. And they also need to know the basics of electricity. So your high voltage versus your low voltage. The tech on the phone will walk them through that and educate them why they're doing it. And it's by design, but it happens so naturally because the people on the other end of the phone want to help the guy on the other end.
Mm. Yeah. And that's the big thing too, is having a team, a culture around wanting to share knowledge, help them grow, help them learn. So that would be a structured call. So, just helping them out, guiding them a bit, showing them what to do, following them, what they have on that, that system, a manual, and then
Mhm.
your tech will have that up. And it's really guiding them through the manual, because a lot of the times when I did tech support, I've had the manual in front of me and I've read it kind of sections word for word. And they're like, Trevor, you're an expert at this. Like, how do you know all this stuff? I'm actually just reading out of the manual, the section that you need to see, but you got to read the whole thing. You know what I mean? You got to read the manual over and over. It doesn't matter what manual is, over and over again, because each time you're going to learn something new and something different.
Absolutely. And that was one of the biggest things whenever I was coming up in the trade. I had a conversation with some really good senior leaders in the trade that were talking about that, a lot of the new techs, they never read the installation manual or the OEM's anything manual. And I told them, I said, when I was first coming up in the trade, when I was an apprentice and I was just, shadowing someone, whenever I had time, I would grab the book out of that unit and I would sit there and read it, because every single time I came across that unit later on, if I took and just read for 5-10 minutes, I added a new piece of information to my arsenal I didn't have before. And that makes a huge difference in techs nowadays, are the ones that want to learn and are hungry for it and will pursue it. And it also has to do with your mentor too, because while I chose to do that, my mentor, apparently after I moved on from him, instilled that in every apprentice after him.
Yeah,
Said,
that's awesome.
if I'm too busy to answer a question, grab that book and read until we're ready to get back to work.
Yeah. And I think that's important. It is having mentors. It is having coaches, because there's not many of them out there. You were a lucky one. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times today, here in Canada anyway, it's supposed to be an apprenticeship program where you actually really apprenticeship. You work with someone until you become that expert.
Mhm.
It doesn't really happen like that anymore, for the cost and the time and sending two people to a job site. It happens a little bit, but not the way it's supposed to. So a lot of those coaches and mentors are really a phone call away, which is okay, but it needs to be consistent. You know what I mean? And it's what we need more of, is more of that. We need more mentors. We need more coaches in our industry. And I think we'd see more people coming in, getting people comfortable, somewhere's to turn to ask the question. Because I know I've talked to so many people. It's like, I just figured it out. It's like me. I just figured it out because I didn't really have anyone to call. And if I did, they were either at the same level and we were just brainstorming together, which was good. But at the end of the day, it was learning the hard way. It took me a lot longer to get me where I'm at today than it could have if you have that right mentor, right coach, kind of like that. Well, if we can't chat yet, read the manual. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And spend that extra 20, 30 minutes. Because if you read 20, 30 minutes a day, you read, 20, 30 books in a year.
absolutely. That, and like you said, I was blessed to come from a company that did have an apprenticeship program and that I had a mentor who was available to me 24/7. And I guess you could say his teaching and his training ability naturally transferred to me, because a lot of people don't realize this, but the apprentice will mimic the mentor. They learn, it's just almost like a child, how it mimics what it sees. The apprentice does the same thing. And so when you talked about the tech support thing and being available, so my mentor did everything he could to be available. When I transitioned into that training director role, I was supporting 18 technicians across the state of West Virginia. Now, I'm one person and I have other responsibilities, but I have to take these tech support calls. And so I, just like yourself, I would sit there in front of the computer, control F exactly what they were looking for, and I'd provide that information. And that's really kind of again, it's full circle, man. Every time it all goes back to Bluon. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is your role now? So you're the training director at Bluon. So going from your role at your previous contractor company to now this new training director, what is your role, your day to day? What are you doing there at Bluon?
Okay, so my day to day is completely dependent on what the target is that day. It
Yeah.
changes, it seems like almost hourly, but so my main focuses right now is with our entire tech support team and the vast knowledge that they all contain is to extract that knowledge and put it into a training format to whereas, okay, gentleman A here is a steam boiler technician. Gentleman B here is an ice machine technician. He knows nothing about ice machines. He knows nothing about boilers. Let me take the information from both of them and allow them to learn off of each other. And so in addition to that, we've developed what we call the strategic partnership team, which is myself and another individual. And we work with manufacturers that want to partner with Bluon and we want to partner with them. And if they offer some form of in-house training, we send our technicians to that training. And so that way the OEM is getting their product supported. Our techs can better support their product because we've been trained by the OEM and everyone's happy. They know that we're providing the most accurate information possible because we were trained by them.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really good for you because now you're learning. So because I know you like continue to learn. Like this is a huge opportunity to continue to learn. And that's what I like about companies that, they're big in size, they have a lot of internal knowledge, but you have to go and start deciphering it. That's what I did at Copeland for years at Emerson, just going in and learning from all the experts to try to find as much information as possible. And if you have just a little bit of want and drive, you can learn a lot in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. When I started working here, because it was completely different from small town West Virginia, some manufacturers that I was aware of, I had never gotten to see, let alone lay hands on their actual equipment other than when I would attend shows like AHR.
Yeah.
And so now to be able to talk with their people internally, their training department, their tech support department, and learn about this equipment that I would have never seen in my neck of the woods is just absolutely phenomenal. And to say the term overstimulated would be a very shortcoming.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what's your favorite part of your role right now? What is because you got a lot going on, wearing a lot of hats, doing a lot of things, meeting a lot of people. What's one of your favorite parts?
Well, my absolute favorite part, man, is just knowing that I'm working with a company that truly has the trade's best interest in mind. And our entire goal is to just improve the lives of everyone involved in the trade. But if you ask like a personal part, I absolutely love the people, man. The
Yeah.
people here at Bluon, I have been here since November of last year. I feel like I've been here my whole life. I mean, everyone here already knew my name within like a few weeks, which I was like, oh, well, I feel really bad because I don't know yours. And just the passion that they have to want to help each other and to help other people outside of our organization. It's just the energy from it is phenomenal and it's so moving and it just helps to encourage my passion and my drive to improve anything I can with Bluon and the HVAC trade as a whole.
Oh, that's good. That is really good. So, what's the next steps for you? What's the plan? So, you're going to launch this app next week, which is super exciting. Um, uh, what's the next steps?
Well, so I can't reveal a whole lot, but what I can tell you is so anyone who's attended AHR, HVAC Excellence, or any of our shows where we had a booth, you may have stopped by and talked with us, and we may have dropped a bug in your ear talking about B4C. And so 2.0 is the really big, exciting thing that's going to launch here soon. Immediately after, then we're shifting our focus to B4C. And if you are unaware of what that is, it's essentially a dashboard for the company owner or the service manager to manage their techs. They can see their orders, their PDFs from their supply houses, and as well as they can provide them ratings and approve or deny quotes straight from their desktop instead of them saying, hey, I got this quote. Can I go ahead and move forward? You get it right then and there. You can approve it, apply your markup, whatever you need to do, send it to that tech who's in front of that customer right then and there. And this results in more jobs finished, no more of the cold feet syndrome, which is essentially when you quote a job to a customer and then you have to come back a day or two later with that quote and they've had time to like, oh, well, I'm going to shop around a little bit. This improves your business.
Yeah.
So it improves efficiency, productivity, and it makes your life, the tech's life, and ultimately your customer's life a lot easier and a lot happier.
That's super awesome. So Jesse, how can people get a hold of you, get a hold of your company if they want to learn more about this? So I've seen lots of ads and lots of stuff always popping up from Bluon, but I'm sure there's lots more people that would like to know about it.
Absolutely. Well, you can download our app, whether it's on Android or Apple. It's available on both platforms, as well as you can go to our website, which is bluon.com. And if you want to reach out to me directly, you can actually email me at jstewart@bluon.com.
Yeah, and I'll put this stuff in the description so you guys can check it out in the description. Jesse, I want to thank you so much for taking the time today. I want to thank everyone for listening. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. Go check that app out. Reach out to Jesse. They're here to help. They want to help you. And can't wait to see you at the next Refrigeration Mentor podcast. See you later, Jess.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. I do hope it is bringing you a lot of value. If you are looking to grow and build your refrigeration teams and want them to learn CO2 refrigeration, head to the refrigerationmentor.com website, click to contact us, and let us know how we can build a culture around training inside your organization. Let's get a conversation going.